Welcome to this month's edition of 55 Plus No Limits. My name is Jeffrey Barone. I'm the Executive Director of the Cranston Senior Enrichment Center, and we're located at 1070 Cranston Street, Cranston, Rhode Island. This month's show, we are gearing to go on a public safety theme. We're going to have some representatives from the Cranston Fire Department. They're going to talk about how to keep the home safe during the holiday season, cooking. And we're going to have someone from the Cranston Police Department. They're going to tell us how to identify a scam. Somebody comes knocking on your door and you're not sure if you want to let them in. If you get a phone call and you're not sure how to handle it, the Cranston Police Department will be there. So stay tuned and thank you. Our first guest is a Cranston police officer. He's been with the Cranston Police Department for 22 years. He graduated from the Municipal Police Academy in 1996, became a patrolman. In 2002, he became sergeant, and in 2005, lieutenant. Today, and now he holds the rank of captain. We welcome Captain Vin McAteer. Welcome, sir. Great to have you here today.
It's great to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. So I always ask this one, especially with a public safety, someone who's in the public safety sector. What possessed you to become a police officer?
Well, I am a third-generation police officer, second-generation Cranston police officer, so I guess you could call it the family business. It's something that I grew up with, and quite honestly, I didn't know anything else. This is something I wanted to do from the very beginning. I had the opportunity to come to Cranston, a place where I was born and raised. So when that happened, I gladly became a Cranston police officer, and I'm still here 22 years later.
Well, we're glad to have you. Now, we've worked together in the past on different projects. One of the projects that really sticks out in my mind is the neighborhood outreach. You head up a certain department that reaches out to different constituents in the city, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I head up what's called the Office of Community Outreach, which is a small division within the police department that is basically tasked with being the community policing arm of the department. We do a lot of coordinating with different divisions and different departments throughout the city, which comprises us working with various neighborhood groups, crime watch groups, as well as a heavy presence within our schools.
Yeah, and I think that's important that the police get out to the neighborhoods other than patrolling, to actually knock on doors and talk to people and find out what their issues are. And my experience in the past working with you doing the neighborhood outreach at different centers around this around the city, or neighborhood watch groups, people like it. People like it, and I think it's a good thing. You've done well with it. I enjoyed being part of it. Can you give us a little insight as to what to expect or what to watch out for, as far as someone knocking on a door saying they're maybe with a utility company, they need to come in and check, or what are some of the things that our viewers should be on the lookout for?
Sure. There are two major things that we see in the police department on a fairly regular basis, which people should be aware of. One is absolutely the utility scams, which means a person will come to the door and ask to come in and check whether it's a water utility or an electric utility. They'll come to the door and ask if they can come into the house to check on something. Sometimes people will let them in to go check on something in the basement or a secluded area of the house, during which time somebody will come in through a side door or a back door and commit whatever crime that they're there to do.
What do you recommend when one of our viewers open the door and they say it's somebody from Providence Gas or Providence Water or National Grid? Should they let them in, or should they make a phone call? Or
well, first and foremost, they don't have to open the door if they don't want to. It's entirely up to them. If they do choose to open the door, the very first thing that they should ask for is some type of positive identification that identifies the person as being an employee of a utility company. A utility company employee will always have some type of ID on them that identifies them as such. Mm-hmm. If they don't feel comfortable with just the identification, they certainly can call, whether it's Providence Water or National Grid, to verify that that person is in fact there for a good reason. If that doesn't work, or if they're just simply not comfortable whatsoever, they absolutely can call the police department, and we'll be there more than likely within 3 minutes.
Yep.
To help them.
And I'm sure that's not a 911 call. So what we're doing is we're going to run the telephone number at the bottom of your screen. Make sure you keep this close by your phone. If you feel that someone's at your door, you don't want to let them in, and you feel unsafe, please use that number. Give them a call. Like the captain said, they'll be there in no time.
Sure. There are two scams that I would advise our viewers to be on the lookout for. One is your typical IRS scam, where somebody will call purporting themselves to be a part of the Internal Revenue Service, and they'll attempt to get the person to pay them over the phone, give them a credit card number, or try to get them to transfer funds. Make no mistake about it, the IRS, they send a lot of letters, but they do not call. They don't make any phone calls or emails. It's something that they do by mail. So if people do get a call from somebody pretending to be from the IRS, and these people are very savvy, they are able to spoof their phone numbers to make it look like they're calling from Washington, D.C. Immediately hang up. Don't give them any information whatsoever.
Good advice. I heard a new one over the weekend. People are targeting seniors, saying that their grandson or granddaughter was involved in an accident, and they need to send money, and we can get the money to you. And once they agree to this, 5 minutes later, someone knocks on your door and says, yeah, the lawyer's office called me and they wanted us to pick up the cash, and they give the cash because they think their grandson or granddaughter is, arrested, incarcerated somewhere, needs bail, or was in an accident and needs to pay for medical emergency. I don't know if you guys got wind of this. I just heard this on the news over the weekend.
Certainly, it's been on our radar. And again, in a case like this where somebody is calling and asking for money, more than likely, I'd say 99.9% of the time, this is going to be a scam of some sort to get people to part with their hard-earned cash. Hang up immediately, or call us at the police department. If there's any type of emergency situation involving a family member, the police department has the ability to go and verify that, so that that person can, at the very least, put their hearts at rest knowing that their family is safe and sound. But certainly this is something that we've seen and we've heard about, and we would certainly advise the viewers to just call us immediately after getting one of these phone calls.
How would some of the viewers in different areas, if they wanted to start a neighborhood watch group? I know we have some in this Garden City area or Dean Estates area, but let's say someone in the Edgewood area or any part of any city that want to start neighborhood outreach. What do you suggest that they do?
Well, first of all, it's been a priority of Colonel Winquist to make sure that we're in the community as much as possible. And a great arm to do that is, like you said, with neighborhood watch groups. And we have two very, very active groups right now within the city, one of which is the Glen Hills Crime Watch group that's headed by Mr. Al Malikian and Susanna Reyna. And we also have another great group that was started very organically by a couple of members of the friendly community up near the Providence-Cranston line, near Reservoir Avenue, all of whom are incredibly engaged and do a tremendous amount of work getting their fellow residents together to advocate for the neighborhoods. So I would encourage anybody that's interested in doing that to first and foremost give me a ring at the police department. My direct extension is 477-5127. Call me directly and we can talk about how to develop a crime watch group for your particular neighborhood.
I've been to a few of the meetings, and I'll tell you, they really give some good advice. And one of the tips I can remember Captain McAteer saying, look, you live on this street. You know the cars. If you see a car driving, that doesn't look familiar, you can always call, or at least make a mental note of the car. I think that's a good tip. I want to thank you for coming by today and stopping, and we're going to be working together closely again. I want to do some outreach with some of the members here at the Senior Center. One of the things, my favorite division No offense to community outreach, but I love the canine division. Those dogs are great. Those guys, those handlers, they do a great job. I've marched in parades with them. I went through the Citizens Police Academy and allowed them to grab my arm. It was great. I think Greg Bruno and his guys, they do a great job. That's headed up by Captain Carnival. Yeah. The dogs are great. If you ever get a chance, hopefully I'm going to have them here one time, not on the show, but in the center. Just have them kind of go around and greet some people. They're I think, one of the most beautiful specimen of a dog. It's it's a shepherd. I'm not sure of, not German Shepherd.
Czechoslovakian.
It's one of the most beautiful dogs you ever want to see. And the guys that handle them are so well trained, and they are superb. I think we have one of the best canine units in the state.
Absolutely.
But that's for another show. Thank you so much for coming by and giving us your insight and telling our viewers basically what to look out for. Especially with the holiday season, you may be a big target, so please keep us in mind. Thank you. Thank you, Captain.
Thanks, Jeff.
Our next guest comes to us from our own Cranston Fire Department. He has been a firefighter for 42 years. He joined the Cranston Fire Department in 1984, and he entered the rank as private. In 2000, he was promoted and became lieutenant, and in 2006, he became a captain. In 2011, he became our deputy chief, and he's currently assigned to the Fire Prevention Bureau with the City of Cranston. He's also our city fire marshal. I have Deputy Chief Stephen McIntosh. Welcome to our show, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start by saying one thing. Thank you for all you guys do. You make the citizens of Cranston, the seniors, and all the citizens feel very safe. And this alone goes to prove that you reach out to the community. I like that. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
But I have to ask you again, too, why did you want to become a firefighter?
Well, sort of stumbled on this. In my youth, high school days, I had some friends, cousins that were part of a volunteer fire service. And we hung around a lot together. And we graduated to the stations a lot, and we got to know the guys, and I got to know them, and it grew on me. By accident, it grew on me. And I became an active member there, and then decided this was going to be something I'd love to pursue, making a career out of it.
Yeah. So, with you having 42 years as a firefighter, I think 21 or 22 years, 23 years here in Cranston alone, correct?
Actually, I just finished my 33rd year with the city.
I got to work on my math. So, you've seen it all. You started at the bottom, the ranks. Yes. You worked your way up, obviously, to deputy chief. I think our viewers are looking for some tips that we may be able to give them. So what do you suggest? What do you think some of the good tips are? Not so much to prevent a fire, but in case of a fire, what should we do?
Well, one of the first things we like to explain to people is the reason we do a lot of the education we do with outreach programs to the citizens of the city due to the tragic events that occur around the country. We learn from our mistakes. We're human. So I can try to scare you a little bit by indicating that since the 1st of this January this year, we've had just over 1,400 people die in the residence in a fire. Young, and fire is not discriminating. Now, we have infants to seniors that are dying in the homes. Mm-hmm. And this is why we're here to prevent this and minimize this.
Where do you find that most of the fires start?
Many fires that we encounter involving cooking issues, unattended cooking, stovetop, grease fires. Fires manifest, and oftentimes mistakes are made, and we don't get there quick enough, and people get hurt. So in the kitchen fire example, we want you to try to suffocate the fire. Try to minimize we have oils and greases that could be burning. The introduction to water makes an explosive event. And not only will the house be damaged, but the splashing burning oil will land on you. And severe burns will result.
So if I'm frying chicken and something happens, don't throw water on it.
Never.
Just
I want you to cover the
suffocate
pan, put the
fire.
cover on the pan. Some folks will have maybe a box of baking soda handy, and you can smother it with that way. I've heard people say they keep a can of sand. I don't see too much of that, but you want to smother the event. Turning the burner down. Don't carry the burner pan around the house. That's unstable, and it's going to go everywhere.
What about fire extinguishers? Should we have fire extinguishers close to the stove, close to a fireplace, or any particular place?
Folks that live in complexes, buildings, high-rise type properties, there's a mandate that fire extinguishers are provided. And typically that's going to always be in the hallways on every floor. However, residents are welcome to have a supplemental device adjacent to the stove for the same reason. You know, you have a problem and you decide you're going to go solve the problem by grabbing that extinguisher in the hallway, and that door is still just closed behind you and locked. So, you know, some folks will carry an extra one under the sink.
And how about smoke detectors or carbon monoxide? I know carbon monoxide is what do they call it? The silent killer?
It's a silent killer. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and tasteless. You will not know. And you'll fall asleep and not wake up because the chemical makeup of carbon monoxide it resembles oxygen. The body is sort of tricked into thinking it's getting oxygen. If you understand chemistry a little bit, with oxygen and one atom and two atoms of oxygen, and the CO is one of each, where oxygen is just oxygen, 2 O2. So the body is tricked. Carbon replaces oxygen. You fall asleep, you get very drowsy, you get violently ill, and you pass out.
So I remember one time we lost power, and I tell this story. And it was a few days, one of the storms, a few years back. And when the power resumed, my carbon monoxide detector went off. And I was at a neighbor's house, and I heard the fire trucks coming. And when I looked around the corner, the fire trucks were in front of my house. And I yelled, I'm here. And, because I knew both cars were in the driveway and they were ringing the doorbell. And I think it's a policy or that if there's no response, you're going through. Especially if you get a carbon monoxide
Yes.
alarm.
Depending on the circumstances, we will investigate, and eventually, if we determine the need to go in, we're going in.
Yep.
Yes, because somebody can't get up because they're on the floor.
The other thing I wanted to ask you too, we talked about earlier when I was in the mayor's office. I used to do tours. In the summertime, camps would call and they'd say, "Can we have a tour of City Hall?" And they would want to see the mayor's office and the council chambers and stuff. And what I did was I incorporated, because we were so close, I incorporated the headquarters, fire department headquarters. And Chief McKenna and yourself were very welcoming to the kids. Tell us about some of the things that you do in the schools when you do an outreach to students. How you kind of teach them what to do in the event of a fire, meeting places, and when they're hiding under a bed and the firefighter's trying to look for them. Tell us how you get them to open up and
The first thing we're attempting to do is to alleviate any concern of fear. Don't be afraid of us. We're your friends. That's the great catchline. Firefighters are your friends. We prepared a coloring book. The kids get to keep the books. We go over the book. The pictures are very descriptive. And we talk about the photographs, the drawings. And a couple of things you mentioned already, hiding. We advocate, don't hide.
Yeah.
Don't go under the bed. Don't go in the closet. Getting out of the house safely and staying out. Get out, stay out. That's one of the big catchphrases also. Get out, stay out. More problems occur when people go back in. I'd rather have a building fire that confirmed nobody in the building than having the concern of having to look for people also. So if the family has been gathered at a meeting place, a lot of times we'll offer suggestions of a neighbor's house because there's support there. And the neighbor can, moms and dads, and all the kids can, I tell the kids, we all count the noses and everybody's there.
Yep.
And when my guys arrive, we can get that message passed off very quickly that the house is empty.
Yep.
And we have I basically tell people I have two problems when I come to your house. I have a fire and I have life safety. So if I can take the life safety out of the picture by knowing the family is safe and out somewhere else, I'm only going to deal with the problem.
Yeah,
The other problem.
concentrate just on fighting the fire.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things, too, I know is if your kids have, they're going to have a sleepover and they're going to sleep at their friend's house and they decide in the middle of the night they want to come home, make sure that they let you know that they're home, because you may think they're at Johnny's house. And God forbid something happens. You're not looking for little Susie. So you may want to make sure that you know that Susie's back home, because if you don't see Susie outside, that might be kind of scary to talk about. But I remember hearing that.
And to play off of that for a second, I often explain to the children that we have fire drills in schools, correct? And everybody says yes. A couple say no. But do you have a fire drill at home? Do you know how to get out of your home? What happens if you sleep over someone else's friend? You know their home very well to get out safely. So having a fire drill and knowing your surroundings and knowing the way out of the home is key to survival.
Let's talk about, I know we you just graduated an academy a while back, and we had the pleasure of having the first female firefighter. So I want to congratulate you on that. But it was announced that you became a heart safe community. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Heart safe community involves education and let people know what to do in the case of medical emergencies, heart related. It involved some training at the public level. It involved creating additional sites that have AEDs, automatic external defibrillators, which the lay people can use. Just follow the directions. It's plug and play, basically. The computer tells you what to do. So with the advent of all these things coming together, it created the environment that we were able to become a heart safe community.
And that's a great accomplishment. That's a great accomplishment. What about, if we talk about rescue, like I said, you've seen it all, you've been through the ranks. What should we do to make that rescue call, or if a rescue has to come to our house, what are some of the things that the rescue drivers need us to do?
Well, one of the first things I would advocate is for the homeowners to properly identify their property. I need a house number where I can see it. And on the front door, some people think that's a wonderful spot until you hang the holiday wreath over the door and hide the number. Or then someone might think that on the stoop at the front top step is a nice under the front door until it hasn't been shoveled yet from the snow. So I would advocate that the number be adjacent, eye level, by the side, either side of the door. A mailbox with a number on it works also.
A mailbox.
But properly identify your home. We're showing up at 3 in the morning for a medical emergency, and you can't tell me what's wrong. So what the fire department has developed, and many people have seen it and have it, are orange cards that gives a little bit of history, medical history, who you are, some of your emergency contact information, who can we call to help you. And the other side is devoted to your medicines, what you take, how often you take it, and the dosage.
Medications are very important. You need to know that.
Changing the word by one letter can create a whole new med. So we have to be crystal clear. And I can't tell you how many times I walk in the door and there's the bag, it's the pharmacy bag with 8 or 9 bottles in it. And that's their list.
Yeah.
And I have to write it down before we can leave. That slows the process down.
So if you were to get those yellow cards, can we get them anywhere at any fire station?
Typically, the fire stations would have them. We carry them on the trucks. If they're out, they could also reach to my office, and we can supply them.
And you're located at station?
Where I'm at the headquarters station at 301 Pontiac Avenue in the administration.
And that's right behind City Hall. So you'll see the address right down below here. Your screen. You can call there anytime, not for an emergency. You want to call 911 for an emergency. I definitely recommend getting those cards. They can write their medications right on them, write them legible. and leave them on your refrigerator. I would also recommend putting them in your purse, because accidents not only happen at home. So anytime you need an assistance of a firefighter, those cards are good to have.
Two other programs, two other initiatives that we have currently in the city for residents to reach out for. One is run by the health department. It's a voluntary process. You can sign up for the medical special needs program. If you have special needs, could be particular history, mobility issues, language, different languages you speak, there's specific problems, and this is tied into 911. So you would register. You would when you need help, the 911 system alerts us that this individual is registered with the special needs program, and we can get the information we need from it that you provided us. The second program is a relatively new program within the city. We've been on board for just over a year now. It's called the Code Red system, an automated messaging system that you would register through the city's. We have it's available on the city's website. It offers you a message if there's an emergency in this community. It could be storm related, power outage issues. It's not going to happen until you need to get a message.
You can do that on www.cranstonri.com, and right on the front page there, you'll see it in red. Register for Code Red. Just click on that link and fill it up. I have it on my phone, and every time there's threats of any type of hurricane storm coming our way, I get that message and with instructions what we need to do. It's very important. So I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I will be reaching out to you again at some point because I want to do some outreach here with the seniors. And I think it would be fun if we incorporate some games and best to do. But I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to stop and see us.
Glad to be here.
Great to see you. All right.
Hope
so
you
now
enjoyed this month's episode of 55 Plus No Limits. We got some real good tips from both our police department and fire department. We hope you utilize them. But remember, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to call one of the departments. We'd love to see you come down to the Enrichment Center. We have a lot of activities to offer. Great people, great things to do. Come down and visit. Also, November 4th, we're going to have a dedication. The City Council has voted to dedicate the Cranston Enrichment Center to the Michael A. Trafficante Enrichment Center. So that's going to be a big time. That's going to be on November 4th. That's a Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And next time you come by, we'll have a new sign here for you with the Michael A. Trafficante Enrichment Center. So we hope you'll come and join us. Thank you.